Hey everyone, Simon here again for the Modern Awakened Perspective, your map for the path to enlightenment. It's my second video of the day, and this one's just going to be a kind of a generalized video, not one specific subject. Um, so, before I get into it, I'll just say, everyone, please give me a thumbs up or subscribe if you haven't already. Also, hit the little bell and you'll get notified when I put out new videos. With all the changes on YouTube's platform, you really can't tell how things are going and when you'll get all the information that you're looking for. So, all these little things help, and I appreciate it also. It helps my channel grow and I can reach more people. So, again, this isn't about anything specific. I'll probably touch on several different issues. First thing I'll talk about is, we're at March Madness time, where, I'm a huge basketball fan, and normally this time of year would be my favorite. I'd be all about watching basketball all day, every day, and kind of ignoring anything and everything else that was going on in the world. And really, since I woke up, started my awakening journey, shall I say, because you're never really finished. These things, such as basketball, which I still enjoy, but are no longer my priority. I spend a lot of time just trying to educate myself in different areas and keep expanding my consciousness and just keep growing, every way possible. So, as you might have heard, in prior videos, I've even given away my TV, gave away my PlayStation, and I had to move from the house I'd stayed at for 14 years, and gave away my furniture and even cooking utensils, and just downsized quite a bit. But back to basketball. I love basketball. In fact, I'll probably play here in an hour or two. I like to still play. Keeps me healthy. Gives me cardio. All those things. But I don't like to just spend hours and hours and hours watching TV and playing games, like I did in the past. I like to be a little more productive and keep keep learning and keep growing. So now this is, I'm not saying this is for everybody, but this is what I like to do, and I like to keep myself, busy and productive like that. So making these videos also, normally when I'm feeling great, I spend quite a few hours doing research to make these kind of videos and give you guys stuff that I think will inspire you to look at things, on a deeper level. And because that's really got me going down this path. What got me going down this kind of path was realizing that some of the things, or most of the things that I thought I knew and understood properly, were not actually as I thought they were. So I started to reassess almost everything, and kind of, there's stages you go through, and once you realize they've lied to you, and you're certain of that, and you can prove that, you start to wonder what else have they lied to you about, and you start digging through things and combing through things with a fine-tooth comb or whatever, and you start realizing that there's when you're not distracted by things like basketball, or wanting to just come home after work and turn your brain off, or whatever, when you really start to do some critical thinking, you see things for what they really are. You can see, that there's people behind the curtain who's pulling the strings, like using the Wizard of Oz analogy I've used before. You start going down that path, and eventually you start to see, who's really making things happen. And, like I said, there's several stages of this kind of stuff. First, you kind of get angry, realizing that you've been lied to for so long, and then, like me, I kind of got curious, whatever, and I had to realize, I wanted to realize what else they were lying to me about. So I started digging deeper into everything. sports, entertainment, health and nutrition, finances, government, all kinds of things I looked at on a deeper level and could see differently once I started to really look for what's going on beneath the surface. So now that I got that little rant out of the way, a few things I just wanted to mention. As you know, some of the subjects you try to tackle here on YouTube can cause you trouble because they don't want you to speak about things, and false flags being one of them. And there's all kinds of them. And a false flag doesn't mean that people didn't really get hurt and people didn't really die. It just means that the reason the event happened isn't what mainstream's telling you. There's usually some sort of a deeper agenda being pushed, and it's sad to think that, but it's really true. When you start to do your research, you'll know that there's usually some reason why these things happen. Now look at what happened with New Zealand. As soon as this happened, they immediately had these calls for gun control. And again, I mentioned this before, but this is the Hegelian dialectic, where problem, reaction, solution. So they cause the problem knowing that the people are going to have a reaction, and then immediately they have the solution ready because they've pre-planned all this, and it's all to move you in a certain direction. Now, one common thing which you can look for with these false flags to show that they are false flags, and of course this isn't widely reported on by mainstream, if at all, is that you'll notice that there's always some sort of a training event going on around these mass shootings and other false flags, because they want to pull things off, and so they don't get exposed. But they make so many mistakes, they still do get exposed, through crisis actors and undercover video. But anyway, you'll see that there's always a training event associated with these false flags. Now, is it really that big of a coincidence that where there's training events is where these events happen? And it happens over and over and over and over again. Some people will say, "Oh, you're a conspiracy theorist," and that's why YouTube is shadow banning and preventing this sort of information from being recommended. Well, that's logically untrue. Logically, you can't say, it's mathematically impossible for all these coincidences to happen. Coincidences are not statistically able to happen like that. It's mathematically impossible. So I like to call these people coincidence theorists that think it's not a conspiracy. It just so happens that every time there's an event, there's been a training session going on. That's not true. It just means you're in denial, you're indoctrinated, zombified, or whatever. You just can't dwell, you can't acknowledge the ramifications of what someone like me saying could possibly be true. Because if it was true, again, you'd have to realize then that you have been lied to your whole life. And for some people, that's just too much to handle. And there's actually a part of your brain which will not allow some people to even comprehend that. And they will, without even thinking, they will subconsciously change the subject when you bring those sort of things up. Because even acknowledging the possibility that this could be true would rattle their foundation so much that they would probably lose their stability and go off the deep end, shall you say. So it's interesting. I find that very interesting, that there's actually a function of your brain to prevent you from going insane. It's like in one ear and out the other. It's really based on a function of the brain. But you have to be strong enough to be able to deal with these sort of things, because the longer people turn a blind eye to it, the longer it's going to go on, because people don't want to deal with it. But the only way to get rid of the darkness that exists is to shine the light on it. So you have to be willing to and be mentally strong enough to look into it and really. Now, I'm not saying all these things are true. There's definitely misinformation and real information out there which is disinformation, psyops, all those things. But you have to have the discerning ability to sift through everything and come to your own conclusions. If you're not willing to go and look at any data, anything on a deeper level, then all the things that we hate that happen are going to continue to happen because we're not willing to deal with it, because we're not mentally strong enough to deal with the possibility that these things have been happening. So with that, I'll go ahead and end this video. It's getting kind of long. Longer videos take a long time for me to upload. I'm still new at the video editing, so I'm using my iPhone and have to upload it here. It takes, 3 times as long as it does to make it to upload it. So that tells you. All right. Well, guys, the comment section is open. I'd love to hear what you think about, what I've been talking about in this video. I like to hear everyone's perspective, to read everyone's perspective, and I try to comment as much as possible back and just interact with people who watch the videos. So that's it for now. I'll see you guys on the next one.